Welcome, Media Men Online. I am Dan, this is Isaiah.
What up?
And I already butchered that, but we'll keep rolling. Assassin's Creed Shadows, their first bit of news for the day, is delayed again. So originally November 12th, then delayed, as you can see here on the screen, to February 14th. But then they said, we don't want to make couples sick on Valentine's Day, so we're going to delay it till March 20th.
What do you mean? They said that they wanted to just iron out a couple more issues
For the fans, right?
for the day, for the perfect day one release.
Yeah. Oh, this isn't a game I'd play under any circumstances, so I'll throw it over to you for...
Yeah, I mean, I used to be super into the Assassin's Creed games. I kind of dropped out after 4. But I mean, we've extensively gotten into our issues with this game. You know, essentially what it's become is, oh, you don't like this game, it's because you think there's a black protagonist. That's not it at all. If there was a game that took place, you know, like in South
Assassin's
Africa,
Creed Origins,
or yeah, like Origins,
we already did that one.
something like that, where it's just like what we're looking for is a character who is actually like culturally relevant. Yasuke being in the game would have been a cool little fun thing, like Leonardo da Vinci was in the Ezio stuff. I always find that's the coolest stuff about the games, is you get these little sneak peeks into the history. But where Assassin's Creed goes wrong, like 3 did, is when you start to make it a core part of the story. Then, where it's like, oh, the American Revolution would have failed if it wasn't for Connor.
Yeah,
and it's like that's dumb. Whereas it used to be, hey, Ezio was witnessing these events as a spectator, and these things were going to happen with or without him. But sometimes we get to see him interact with these events. You know, it's just this cool kind of, you learn about history, but you're also experiencing this very unique personal story to the game. I don't know. I don't find that fun.
Just don't let DEI get in the way of telling a proper story. That's my problem. But hopefully for some people who buy this game, they'll enjoy it. And we talked about the pay structure. Are they still doing that with Ubisoft?
Oh, yeah, well, Ubisoft is a whole different issue right now. Their company might, like, people are saying they might have pushed it back because they're getting ready to sell. So that way the poor sales of the game don't affect their sale of the company. Heavily rumored. Don't take that as fact or anything.
Yeah.
It could just be something else. But Ubisoft had a very terrible year last year.
The Nintendo Switch 2, and I paused it right here because this is a point of concern, we'll say, and then I'll put the video back a little bit. But the Switch 2 is announced. It's official. People have been talking about it since 2019-ish. So check the screen out in front of you, and these are the new Switch Joy-Cons and how they connect. Now, when they start to unfold, when the video starts to unravel, you can see that there aren't sliders on the side. I thought it was going to be a magnet situation, but it's a plug with a very flimsy-looking connector piece on each side. So I don't know. Maybe since the blue here, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse, but the blue on the side fits into this housing here.
Yeah, like maybe it clicks a little bit, but we'll have to see. But that looks like, if it doesn't, even if it does kind of click, it seems like if you put too much pressure. And I have a nephew where he has my old Switch, and like the entire back panel is kind of like broken off because, like, you know, when you're a kid, you drop it, stuff. I feel like if you press on it a little too much, it could just snap right off. Yeah. Maybe it's in a specific way where it doesn't snap the thing
Maybe
itself.
It doesn't wiggle at all. Yeah. Maybe, hopefully, if you look where the Joy-Con would initially line up, it is bigger. It's quite a bigger console. So double USB slots. Isaiah and I both had different thoughts on what that could be for. This first Switch had a ton of internet connectivity issues. It was Switch Online was horrible. So maybe a
well, I would hope that the
link cable situation.
If you try to plug in the Switch to charge it while it's in that mode like that, the cord's going to be super bent, or the Switch is going to be lifted up. Whereas if you have the charger on top, you can plug it in, play it like this, and still have it charging.
All right, let's move on. We'll keep you updated on the Switch 2 as more info comes out.
Daredevil Born Again got an official release date of March of this year. I believe it was like March 4th.
I thought it was going to be a large image.
Nope, it's the same size image. I went from being very excited for this TV show to not being excited because of all like the Marvel garbage and schlock that's happened recently. They've recently kind of shown and announced that, hey, all the characters. The first you thought it was just going to be Daredevil and Kingpin back, and then I think they announced Punisher would be back as well, but we were unsure of like even like Foggy or Karen, like if they were going to be back. They've pretty much announced that all the characters are coming back. I believe only one person has been recast, and that's Kingpin's wife.
Oh,
her name left mine. I don't know why her name's
Russian
gone from my
lady
head.
or
Yeah,
whatever.
but she's in it, but it's a different actress playing her.
Gotcha.
But the cool thing for me was they announced that the guy who played Bullseye is going to be back in it, and I thought he was fantastic in season 3, and that's why I was so bummed, because I was like, man, I was hoping for a season 4 where we actually get to see him be Bullseye. He's
what a
not
disappointment
the main.
That was when they canceled.
Well, that's
Daredevil.
Yeah, Marvel did that because they saw how successful it was, and it was like, we want this now.
Yeah, you guys can't make money off of us. They don't deserve any benefit of the doubt. But the cast and the crew, I don't know if it's the same crew or not, but this cast has earned my trust enough to where I'm going to give it a chance. And I can't stand Marvel anymore. And I haven't enjoyed something from them since. Well, Deadpool and Wolverine was recent.
Let's be honest, though, that wasn't a Marvel movie.
No. So hopefully we can be honest, and this is still made by people who aren't Marvel.
Like, give us what made the original Daredevil so good was how grounded the fights and action was.
Yeah.
Where, like, when Daredevil is punching in somebody, like, in a fight, you can tell, like, every punch he throws is exhausting him.
Yep.
And they're just, like, everyone's so tired by the end of a fight, and it just makes it feel so real.
If you've ever been a fight, that's how fights really are. So apparently the Born Again name is a storyline by Frank Miller. Now, it doesn't say whether or not it's going to follow that storyline, but it is in reference to it.
Yeah, I think the villain is actually... I don't think it's going to exactly follow it, because the villain is one of the newer Daredevil villains.
Should be Netflix, should be Disney Plus, possibly Hulu. All right, so Diamond Comic Distributors files for bankruptcy. So back when I used to read comics every single week, Diamond Comic Distributors was the main source of providing comic books from the seller to the store, both by print, shipment, all that stuff. And along the way, I believe it might have been 2020, 2021, that range where they being Marvel, DC, Image, started to do their own processing, printing, shipping, all that stuff. Maybe that's why they made comics more expensive, so they can just bleed you dry. But they were realizing that Diamond Comics was milking them. So they canceled. They still would use them occasionally. And here's one of the things that bothers me. What Marvel was doing. Now, I'm sure you're familiar with Variant Comics. They would say, if you order X amount of comics of female Green Lantern number 37, we will give you, when you reach the 25 comic threshold, we'll give you a variant. When you reach the 50, we'll give you a variant. So they were making these local stores buy hundreds, because they'll have the collectors who will come in and pay $100 for a variant, which will cover the cost of all the... So you would go into a comic store and there'd be 65 untouched issues of
whatever
Captain Marvel issue 12, volume 17. Yeah. And you're just looking at this like it was such a scam. And then what they do, because they're never real about what's really happening, they would say, oh, we sold 10,000 issues, but really they sold 10,000 issues to the store. They're all sitting on the shelves, and the store sold 4 issues of variants. But it was a whole freaking Ponzi scheme that Diamond Comics is still allowed to proceed even with the bankruptcy file, but it's looking pretty bleak for them. Chapter 11. I don't know. Do you know much more about bankruptcy? my part of the expertise is the comic section.
Well, so here's what I understand from bankruptcy, and this is very like base level stuff. They file for bankruptcy, but doesn't mean necessarily that they're shut down as a company, because usually what will happen is somebody can come in and buy them out or pay them out, essentially, is the thing. So Diamond Comics can still move forward as a company, but like there needs to be some sort of intervention, from what I understand. Especially.
And it sucks because a lot of these comic stores are guys who worked like we do 25 years, and then they're like, okay, I'm going to retire. I'm going to do my passion and buy a comic store. And they get screwed by companies like Marvel and DC and these scumbags like that. So, all right. R.I.P. David Lynch.
Yes, he unfortunately passed away today. He's a legendary filmmaker, even though you might... And it's weird because I'm looking at a lot of these movies and stuff, and it's like, wow, I actually didn't watch many of them on here, but I felt like I did, because that is just how much of a presence that he had. It didn't matter who... And here's the thing as well. Maybe I didn't watch many of these movies, but a lot of the movies I watched were probably inspired by him. Like, he was just so legendary. Like, Twin Peaks alone inspired so many of like those weird mystery thriller genres.
Yep.
And that was just the TV show he worked on. The only movie of his that I recognized that I had watched from that list was Elephant Man a long time ago. But I've decided I'm going to try to watch for next week Mulholland Drive, because I've been wanting to watch that for a long time. It's probably one of his most famous ones.
And this was the only one, just like yours with Elephant Man. This was the only one I've definitely seen was Eraserhead. So,
and that's the thing too, is it's like, you would look at a trailer for a movie and you'd be like, oh, that's David Lynch.
Yeah, and we were both surprised when we pulled up this list that we'd only seen one or two of the movies, because he's, like you said, he's got such a daunting film presence that, like, oh yeah, we know David Lynch. Yeah. I've seen all of his movies.
And that's what's crazy. Is I feel like I've seen like 5 or 10 of his movies, and unless they like, well, Dune is on there as well. He did the Dune, which I haven't seen that Dune, by the way.
Right.
I've seen clips and stuff of it, and I know of it. It's, it's very similar to Wes Anderson. I think I've seen one Wes Anderson movie, but I know, like, if I see a trailer for a movie, I know it's Wes Anderson, and he's got this very specific style and such a huge personality. I mean, that was David Lynch, though. He was... I mean, I don't think his influence will ever be forgotten, and it's just such a sad thing to have happen, because he's...
And spawn generations of future filmmakers.
Oh, yeah.
And future film fans.
And people are going to go back to these movies. Like, you look at Eraserhead, you'd say that's still a fantastic movie. That's 1977.
Yeah.
I think that's what really matters, is you have movies that are fun to watch when you watch them, but the real ones are the ones that are timeless. Yeah. And I'd say a lot of his movies are timeless. I mean, Twin Peaks is so timeless that he made a joke at the end of the show saying, hey, I'll see you in 20 years. And then 20 years later, they came out with the next season.
Demi Moore wins her first major acting award at the Golden Globes. For what? Possibly the Media Men's top movie of 2024. Yeah. Maybe if just
you could go watch that video.
Yeah,
our top movies of the year. Figure out.
Yeah, well deserved.
Yeah, 62, and it's only her first time winning an award, which is crazy because she's a really good actress, but also well deserved from this movie.
Is this her best performance of her life? It probably is.
Probably,
and that's not a disrespect to what she's done prior. It's a compliment to a 62-year-old woman being at the top of her game.
Yeah. Also,
impressive.
I think what really makes it work is like, it seems like her personal, or like maybe the way that people view her or people like her in the industry view themselves. It's a really good kind of look at that, this idea of age and beauty. And I think because of how personal it felt, it really draws out of her performance there.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Because I know. Because it's like you look at someone like her and, she's looking at herself like, man, I'm not attractive at all. Would you say that?
I disagree.
I know, right? Where it's just like, doesn't matter if you're 62. First off, I would never guess that she's 62.
No. Maybe 48, 49.
But yeah, no, definitely well deserved. We still haven't gotten the Oscar nominations yet, so we'll see what happens there.
I have no faith in the Oscars.
I have very little faith, but she better get at least a nomination.
Yeah.
But I think that's pretty cool that even at the Golden Globes, that a horror movie got that kind of nomination.
Yeah, and like an indie film festival horror movie as well. And just, I anyone who hasn't seen this movie, we've talked about it 500 times, but go see it. It's well deserved. And did Margaret Qualley, was she like in the running or no?
I don't know. I literally only saw the clip of her acceptance speech, which actually, if you see there, she says that she thought she was done with acting.
Wow.
Till the script came along, which is like, thank God that script came along.
Congrats to Demi Moore and The Substance. Wow, that movie came the hell out of nowhere, I'll tell you that much. All right, so I talked about Sonic 3 on a previous episode, but Isaiah saw it like right after we recorded.
Yeah, immediately after I picked up my brother and we went to watch it. And I guess I won't go full into spoilers, but I'll say one very, very slight spoiler. I got into the movie theater and I leaned over to my brother and I said, I'm looking for one thing out of this movie. And I want to hear Live and Learn at the end of the movie. And for anybody who wants to watch the movie, you'll hear it.
Yeah.
I was like, this movie can't do anything wrong. I'll keep it kind of short because we might do like a full-on review of this movie. But my only problems, like actual complaints with the movie, was the editing for the first like 30 minutes was a little wonky. Like when you've seen it in the trailer when Shadow shows up in Times Square and they're fighting Sonic, he like knocks him to the ground. He is standing. All of a sudden Sonic is standing, then he falls to the ground, and then he's on the. It cuts to a different shot of him on the ground in a different position, getting up. Then, I that was the most egregious one I noticed. But the movie did feel very quickly paced in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
So I think maybe there was a little bit more time to breathe there, but in order to get it down to a shorter, more digestible movie for, families and kids, they might have edited around the beginning part. But once they get to the destroyed facility there, I didn't notice any editing problems, and I felt like the pacing was a lot better.
The double Jim Carrey is very fun.
Oh, it works so well. It's so funny because Jim Carrey has essentially quit acting except for these movies. You look at his last 3 movies he worked on, and it's just the Sonic movies. And I think the last Sonic movie came out in like, what, 2020? 2019? Something like that?
I think they're every 3 years.
But it's like, he kind of was going to retire from acting after the original movie. Every 2 years.
Yeah.
He was going to retire from acting after the first movie, but he enjoyed the role so much, and I think people liked him so much in the role because it felt like a return to form for him.
Nobody's Home. I saw this movie earlier today and very confused by it. Let me read the synopsis for you so you can get kind of an idea of what we're doing here. When Theodora's boyfriend Luca is set to be released from the institution where they're both admitted, she escapes with him and tries to re-traumatize him. So he remains under her control. Very short cast. This is the entire cast of the movie, but the main 4 is Theodora, her boyfriend Luca, and then a couple who arrives at his childhood home by happenstance. The whole movie is this girl is an absolute sociopath, and she's manipulating him into killing people. Did he? Or is she killing people and telling him he did, and he's so, like, he trusts her fully? It is a bizarre movie to watch because these other 2 people show up. She's got him under his thumb the entire movie. But these other 2 people show up, and he's kind of apologizing. Look at this review. No.
Nobody's home. No.
Pretty funny. Thought it was anyways, the arrival of the other 2 people, screw it, I'll spoil it. Theodora kills the woman who lives in the home. She tells Luca it was abandoned. He finds out that the woman's dead, and she tells him he killed her, and he believes it because he's just out of the mental institute.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole basis of the movie. It mostly takes place in Luca's childhood home, and it mostly involves this chick who's a complete psychopath trying to manipulate everyone around her. And when the 2 new people show up and she can't manipulate them under her will, she starts to like crack with reality. And it's the gal one of the other 2 people that show up, the gal is trying to tell Luke he's apologizing for everything because he's been mentally broken by this lady. And she's like kind of, as soon as she's like telling, oh, it's not your fault, you don't have to apologize, this chick starts to snap. She tries to get with her boy. It's a whole thing. It's a screwed up movie.
Would you recommend it is the real question.
No, but yes. I just I can't recommend it to any specific person, but anyone who's in the mood for like a mind freak of a movie.
I say if you look at the second review, it feels like the duality of the people who
this is me back and forth right now.
But like I was reading that second review and he's just like, the end happened so quickly and I realized what happened a week later, which was fun. It's just like, it just leaves you thinking about stuff.
The end is very vague, but I think at maybe next week when we come back, I'll just spoil the movie because I can't talk about the ending without ruining the movie. But
maybe I'll try to watch it then.
It's weird as hell if you watch it.
I like weird movies.
But if you watch it and you're bored by it, don't come shoot the messenger. I told you don't watch it, but I also told you to watch it. So do what you will with that information.
I'll shoot the half of you that told me to watch it. Alrighty. I talked about how I watched like the first half of Konosuba season 3. I finally watched the second half with my friend last night. And it is just more good Konosuba. I ended up giving the season like an 8 out of 10 instead of a 9 out of 10 like season 2 in the movie, because I do feel like, unlike previous seasons or even the movie, what happens is very enjoyable and it progresses some character stuff. But in terms of like the plot and things that actually happen, like the status quo doesn't really change at all, really, is what it feels like from the beginning to the end of the season, which isn't a bad thing. You know, that's why it's like I'm not giving it a bad review.
Is that the movie?
Yes.
Okay.
The movie is one of the best like anime movies I've ever watched. It's so entertaining. But yeah, not much. Like I could explain the plot of this season in like 2 or 3 sentences. Not even like it's because it's just it feels like 2 different small arcs, one right after the other, where not a lot happens. In fact, they kind of reuse a plot point from earlier because I turned to my friend, I was like, wasn't this like a thing in the first season? And he goes, yep. As much as I did really like the Megumin spinoff, it really is Kazuma that really ties the comedy together with all this, because of all like his fourth wall breaks. And you know, when I mention fourth wall breaks, I'm going to be bringing it up a lot more in the next thing that I talk about. But yeah, I cannot recommend Konosuba enough. Alrighty. So funny story with this. We talked about this like a year ago, right? You know, I never watched the final episode, and I forgot that I didn't watch the final episode.
Wow.
Because I was scrolling through my Crunchyroll, and it said I still hadn't watched episode 12, and I was like, that's weird. I definitely watched episode 12, and I started to watch it. I was like, no, I didn't. But you know what? The new season starts in a few days. I'm gonna rewatch the whole show, and man, it is. I'm tempted to say it's even. I liked it even more the second time. It just knows what it is. And I think the other important part of this too is it's like it is a gag manga. They break the fourth wall so many times. I mean, like even to the point where it's so entertaining. Where like the guy says, "Stop screwing around! They're gonna cut my lines from the manga," and the manga readers are gonna be pissed off.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, they cut my lines!" You know, stuff like that's really funny. The interactions, the whole idea of it is really good for anybody who likes Kaguya-sama Love is War. The author of that actually said like this is his favorite manga. And it is like the perfect like spiritual successor to Kaguya-sama, is kind of what this is. And not just that, but this show is very heartfelt as well. Mm-hmm. Like episode 3 with the Shizuka, the girl who can only speak through her phone, is like there's not a lot of comedy. There's some comedy in that episode, but it is just really touching and really gets your emotions going. And that's what the show really knows how to balance well. And Rentaro is definitely like the best like harem protagonist ever, because it's not like a lot of other protagonists where it's just like, I kind of like you and I kind of like you. It's like, no, this guy is like a real like the goodest guy. This is my best way to say it. Like he really cares about every single one of them, always puts them, you know, first. And it's like he isn't just doing lip service for because they could go that way for the comedy where it's just like, I have to be with them because if I don't, they're gonna die.
All right, real quick on this one. I watched the first episode called The Agency, starring Michael Fassbender, which I didn't know he did TV series, but it's a whole new world out there with all these streaming services.
Also produced it. When I was looking.
Yeah, he produced it. He's the main character. He and Jodie Turner-Smith, who I'm unfamiliar with. Richard Gere and Jeffrey Wright are kind of the big wigs of the agency. And it's a very gritty, if you like James Bond, not really Mission Impossible type things, but it's more of a spy thriller. This is the show for you. Covert CIA agent Martian is ordered to abandon his undercover life. So Michael Fassbender is in an undercover life with Jodie Turner, who, spoiler, also turns out to be a spy. But he feels bad he has to leave her. Yeah. But he dips on her because he's called to a mission, and he
follows him.
He goes. She doesn't seem too bothered by it because she's got other stuff to do. It's gritty. It's dark. It's a lot of fun, and it's just from episode 1. So take that with a grain of salt. But there are 10. I'm not sure if all 10 episodes are out. A quick look here. It's on Paramount Plus. Dexter New Blood, all caught up. 5 episodes. We're introduced to Maria LaGuerta. Christina Milian, is she like a singer or something? Because they were touting her as... I'm not familiar with her.
No idea. Oh, Dexter Originals.
Patrick Gibson is fantastic. Christian Slater is
It's crazy.
good.
The picture of him there looks
look like
nothing like what he looks like in the show. That is crazy.
There's a lot... The thing about this version of Dexter is you can see the progression. When we saw him in regular Dexter, he's already this perfected monster.
Well-oiled.
In this, he's still a youngster. He's still weird.
Still learning.
But he's learning his craft. For instance, in one of the episodes, he goes after a guy who escapes, and he's got to chase him down. The guy gets hit by a car, and now he has to do cleanup duty. So it's a whole disaster. Deborah Morgan's Molly Brown, Deborah Morgan, actress, her friend is like in love with Dexter. It is a whole thing. It's so much fun though. I'm having a great time with this.
It's been a while since I saw the original, but it was the guy who didn't like him at the beginning of the show. Dokes. I was about to say Snokes, but no, it's not Dokes. Is he in this show or
not yet?
Not yet.
It doesn't look like.
I say he was always like their relationship and like interactions with each other was always super fun.
Well, you'll be happy to know that this got me back into watching the original series.
After New Blood killed it.
After New Blood tried to ruin my life. Yeah.
Alrighty, so Genshin Impact just released their finale to the Natlan Archon quest. And it was fine. I liked it. I thought that the whole scripted nature of it a little was... How do I put this? There was parts I really thought were super cool, and some other parts that were kind of lame. Parts that were really cool. If you did like the extra missions in the game, like that had nothing to do with the actual Archon quests, that were just side quests that had to do with characters you were interacting with, they come back to help you in this final quest. So if you never did those quests, they wouldn't show up. Ooh. Is what I would think, because if you never met those characters, it would be weird for them to show up.
Yeah.
Because part of it is, hey, as you were doing these quests, you were getting this chronicle filled out where it's just like, hey, you're doing all these cool things. Because part of the story, very, very like slight spoilers that don't make sense if you don't know what's going on. In order to get this power up you need to be known by the land and have your stories written out to become like a hero of it. So that's why it's like by doing those quests, you're getting more stories to your name, which boosts you and gives you more power in the end. So I liked the idea that as somebody who had been playing the game as it came out, and so, you know, in between time, I'm doing all these side quests, all those mattered and made the ending more interesting and fun. It kind of has me thinking now, crap, do they do that in Honkai Star Rail? Should I start doing some more of the side quests before I progress the main story? I don't know. But parts of that were kind of lame was just like the actual plot once you got to like the final boss. It just kind of goes by really quickly. It is very like railroaded. Like normally when you fight a final boss, you get to go in with like your full team and actually get to experience a part of this boss fight. In this one, it was just you play as 2 characters that are given to you, and that's it. And it was kind of like, okay, I didn't really get to feel like I was fighting this boss because it gave me 2 really strong characters that are meant to be very survivable, so I just was spamming on the boss the entire time. It didn't really feel like a challenge at all. Especially because like what I try to do when I do these is play as characters that are important to the story and not just my most powerful characters. So like I'll play as the Traveler. But I also really liked you could say it's kind of like the epilogue of it. There's like a villain group, and one of them they're kind of like bad guys, but also not bad guys. You're just like, hey, they're trying to do something good, but they're going about it this dark way. One of those members is in this storyline, and they do something really cool with him at the very, very end of it. So it was kind of a mixed bag. I still think that the 3rd act of Fontaine, the previous nation, was a lot better because the story hit a lot harder. It felt like everything that came before was building up to this moment and these reveals that really hits you emotionally. This wasn't really going for that same thing, so maybe I just am affected more by that emotional type stuff. But I thought it was a good, decent final act. Some things I really, really liked that I hope they do more in the future. And then some other things where it's just like, hey, I don't really think it worked out too well this way. Maybe try going that. But yeah, overall I enjoyed it. And the 2 new characters are very, very broken. The Natlan power creep is very real.
Yeah.
But only for Natlan. So that's the kind of problem I could see with it is these characters are really strong in this nation with like the special abilities you get there. Mm-hmm. And once you go to another place, it's like, okay, they're still decently strong because part of what the power creep comes from is not the characters themselves, but the artifact set or the relics, if you do Star Rail,
right.
Do that really like break them. But we'll see kind of what comes next. But it has been kind of crazy how strong these characters have.
Okay, I promised Absolute Batman an episode. Red App. I spent my time catching up. Finished Ashel manga while I was on the plane. So.
Oh, nice.
That damn plane was terrible. I'll get to that in a minute. Absolute Batman number 3. So the taglines: without the mansion, without the money, without the butler, what's left? Absolute Dark Knight. Which, not the Absolute Dark Knight, it's the Absolute Batman, but whatever. So, spoilers, his mother's alive this time. The dad still dies, he gets shot, but his dad's a teacher and his mother's a social worker. They're not the rich Waynes like they are in every single other version of Batman. Yeah. He's an ex-military Bruce Wayne returning to Gotham. He was over in Singapore. They don't exactly say why to this point, but I assume the fact that they mentioned that it will come up later on. And mind you, this is just the first issue. His Batcave's just a Batcave, I'm putting in heavy quotes, is just a rundown little apartment, like the hood of Gotham. And the entire first arc is going to be centered around the Party Animals, which is a gang who's literally just slaughtering people. They mentioned that I can't remember exactly which day it was, but one of the days he's talking to Pennyworth, it's called, his like correspondent, which is Alfred's last name.
Yeah.
He's talking to him and he says, last night they burned down an orphanage and just laughed while 32 burned. 32 children, probably. So it's just a group looking to slaughter as many people as possible, which is a very, very dark turn. Batman is typically a dark series, but this is much, much darker. He's still a non-lethal Batman, but every attack is much more brutal. And I'm going to put an image here of... I took a screenshot, but I don't have it up now. In the edit, I'll drop it in, but check out... the art style is a lot different. He's got a lot new tools. Spoiler for one of the tools he has. He takes a staff out of his side, flicks it on his chest. The bat symbol here on his chest is an axe. So he's got all sorts of new tools, and it's still Batman and it's Bruce Wayne, but it's a whole different.
Does he not have his code angle. Then?
He's still not killing people.
Oh,
so
the axe.
He cuts a guy's arm off with it. The guy's like, "Do you know how many people I've killed with this hand?" And he goes and chops his hand off with the gun in it. Not anymore. So, not much of a American comic book guy these days, but this was extremely enjoyable, and I found myself. Isaiah, you'll get a it's Scott Snyder. You'll get a kick out of this. I found myself reading left to right, and I'm like, wait, flip it. Because I've read, since the last comic book I've read 1,000 manga chapters. Like, it's crazy. And the epilogue previews the Joker, different Joker. This is a high recommend. It's very enjoyable. My only problem is it's $4.99. I don't know what they're thinking. Why are you charging so much? You would you rather have 10 customers give you $5 or 20 customers give you $2.50? I'd rather have 20 customers give me $2.50. That's so many other people. And if let's say you had a 10-year-old son, you give him a $10 bill to go in the store, he can buy 2 comics and go home. It's not going to give him incentive to try something new like Absolute Batman.
Yeah. I think of like the days of the 99-cent comics.
Even $1.99, and when I was growing up, it was $1.99 into $2.99. But even that's fine. It's out of control for that.
And $5 is a lot of money for that kind of thing.
Everything's more.
Especially for a kid.
Point, yes, something needs to break at some point where somebody says, okay, your groceries are more expensive, your gas is more expensive. What if we're not more expensive? At some point.
That's the one video game or holdout that video games had for a while, like keeping the price at $60, but now they're...
It was 60 for a good 15 years.
Now 70s kind of seems to be it.
It's crazy. It's bananas.
I was thinking Legos in general. You know how crazy those prices are now?
They're out of control.
It's
hundreds of dollars. Yeah. I'm gonna real quick. So we talk about miscellaneous all the time here. So I went to Dallas, Texas for the first time this past week. It was a high of 35 degrees, low of 21. I thought I was gonna be wearing shorts and a t-shirt. I was freezing my what's off outside of the American Airlines Center. We went and saw a Dallas Mavericks game. I got to see my boy Dirk's statue outside of the stadium.
Oh, wow.
He's doing his patented fadeaway, unguardable 7-foot guy fading away. You can't block it. Yeah. The only one that can block is if they run up behind him. He made a career off of that. But yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about Texas. It was weird because when you think of Texas, you think of cowboys, you think of rodeos, and this was kind of just like another city that I've been to. It was a lot cleaner than New York City, of course, because the dog crap that I stepped in on the way in is city. But it was a ton of fun. My brother and I went together. We saw the Mavericks, who didn't have two of their three best players, beat the Lakers by 21. So that was enjoyable. LeBron was very sad. And then the next day, we went to Cowboys Stadium. We didn't go inside, but I went over there and my wife says, "Did you pee on it?" Quote unquote. I did not. And for the first time, I tried Top Golf. We don't have that here because it's always snowing. But it's basically a driving range where they have these roofs in the... Back to this website. I wanted to zoom in. You see these circles in the ground?
Yeah.
You can do certain types of games. They have these video screens. Oh, longest drive gets points. Or you can do, if you knock it into the ones that are glowing, you get extra points. So you got to be really good at golf, which I'm not.
Yeah.
But here, this is what it looks like from the side.
Yeah, I used to golf a ton. Yeah,
it's awesome. It's just rows of people.
Yep.
But with Texas, it was only 30 degrees and it was in the morning, so we were the only people there. It's like you get a waiter and they'll serve you food. There's like a lounge area for everybody. So
It's like bowling.
It's basically bowling with golf. It's fun. And I was my brother and I did it together. I'm just like, it would be a lot of fun if we had like 6-8 people here just chilling for a few hours. You pay by time. We paid for 15 minutes. You could do an hour. You could keep extending it, but it's a ton of fun. Top golf.
All right, I just wanted to quickly talk about the new cinematic that League of Legends dropped for their new season of League of Legends. It is animated by the same studio that did Arcane, so it looks beautiful and wonderful. And while it is technically for the next season of League of Legends, a lot of people are also saying it's probably going to really tie into the next thing they're doing with the Arcane universe. Because they mention in it, what happened in Piltover, which is supposed to be just Arcane specific. I do also know, though, that they are trying super hard to tie a lot of the Arcane stuff back into League. Victor's character, they completely changed what he looks like in his story in the game itself. Like, he used to be Herald of the Machine because he was all about upgrading people with machines. They changed his look to look like what he did in Arcane. And they changed his title to Herald of the Arcane. So it seems like the success of the show is really driving the game a lot. And I'm all for it because I like to say I'm a fan of League of Legends, except for the game itself, League of Legends. I like all the spin-off games. I like all the lore, the character bios, the written stories. There's just so much cool stuff about this universe, and I don't know enough about Lord of the Rings to say this, but I've heard some people say, it's on par with like Tolkien's universe with how well written it is and how intricate it can be and how interesting a lot of this stuff is. And I can say from my perspective, not knowing a lot about Lord of the Rings, but knowing a lot about this, I can see it. It's so much fun seeing all this stuff. And the cinematic really does. If you do like Arcane, don't know anything about League of Legends, this is still a fun cinematic because you get to see a character that's just from Arcane, which I think they announced a day later is going to be a champion now in the game. But I don't know, I'm just excited for everything surrounding League of Legends. Like, they got the new fighting game coming out soon called 2KXO. It's just a 2D tag fighter game coming out. And that one. And it looks really fun. Like, the art style is like very, very specific. And the people who are working on this game, by the way, are the people who created Evo and are like veterans of the industry. They created rollback netcode for fighting games. So it's in very good hands. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, that's why I like the cinematic a lot. I've played League before and it's fun. The worst part about League is that the unlike, let's say, Overwatch or let's say Marvel Rivals, where you can go into random matches with people and you can have a good time. League, most of the time I would solo queue, and I'm new to the game. I'm not that good. People would report me because they claim I'm throwing because I'm not good at the game. It's like that's my problem with League is the player base is very not great.
Insane.
But the game itself is fun. The characters and lore are fun. I just can't recommend enough. I mean, there's an RPG they made called The Ruined King, which is really good. I started it, never finished it. All this news got me to re-download it, and I'm like, I think I might try playing it again. It's a turn-based, or not turn-based. It's an RPG where like you have like a speed bar and you can like move your place in time. So it is kind of turn-based, but it's very unique. I really like it quite a bit, and you get to learn more about the lore. But yeah, no, the cinematic, super fun, animated beautifully by, I think Fortis is the studio's name. They just really have that 3D animation down. Like some of the best 3D animation, if not the best 3D animation out there right now.
All right. It has long since, we've been waiting on this for a while. We have our top 5 video games of 2024. Late, but still great.
Yes.
So at number 5, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown.
Yep, this is one that I played. It is, I'm not big into Metroidvania type games, but they released a demo, which, just to say, every video game out there, release a demo of the game. It looks fun, which this game did, even though it's not my type of thing. I'll try it out. And this game felt very fun to play. The movement is so precise and responsive that it works really well. You can interact with the map so you can remember where you need to come back to like what things you need to do there. I got frustrated sometimes with the game because when you get to the harder challenges, it's very specific platforming you need to do, but it's very rewarding when you finish it. And it's unfortunate because the developer got shut down by Ubisoft. This was like the first Ubisoft game that came out in a while that actually felt like passion and creativity was behind it. But because it didn't sell as well as they wanted it to, it's a niche, game genre. They shuttered the studio, and then do you know what happened? The studio won a award at the Game Awards. And people were there to accept it, but it was heartbreaking to know that, hey, the studio that made this game is no longer a thing. But I would love more games like this, and it's a shame that, we're not going to get any from the studio that made it.
Number 4, Silent Hill 2. Oh, it's a remake, of course, so this couldn't be number 1 for me. But in terms of games released this year, the atmosphere, the graphics, the settings, it's not a one-to-one remake. Now, did I play the original Silent Hill 2? No, I did not, but I've seen comparisons and things. It's not an exact remake, but it still holds true to the original. But what does it do? Why are we talking about this in 2024? The atmosphere puts you in this mindset, and if you've never played Silent Hill games before, they're always a mind twister. Now, the games themselves, sometimes you don't know what the hell's going on. You don't know what you're looking at, what types of enemies are coming at you. And look at the trailers just telling you all you need to know. And that makes it more freaky. Flashlight goes out, a little something skitters across the ground. You don't know what you're looking at. There's at one point where you're attacked by this dude who looks like he's encased in a leather skin suit, but people getting experimented on, all sorts of stuff. It's a mind-numbing horror fest. Was I like scared? No, but I was always on edge, always tense. In the game, the controls feel right. The survival aspect where you have to conserve ammo didn't feel like I was always like, oh my god, I'm always out of ammo. It felt like it was finely tuned. I did play it on normal. First playthroughs, I always play on normal. So take that for what. If you're one of those like, I'm going to play on extreme the first time, go for it. But when I talk about ammo economy and things like that, it's specific to the normal playthrough. The music, the score, it amplifies the tension.
Yeah, so atmosphere is very important.
Yeah. It's the unknown coupled with the atmosphere, as we said. Yeah. So please check this out.
Alrighty,
number 3.
I wanted to play this game for a while after it came out. It just never came across, as a thing I was going to get. I threw it on my Christmas list then. Then the Game Awards happened, and it won Game of the Year, and that became quite controversial. But I was like, you know what? I hear it's a really good game.
Does he have a beard?
Yes, that's Kratos.
Oh.
Yes. So part of the fun thing of this game is it is a celebration of PlayStation's history. Not only, I played the original Astro's Playroom. It was a free short game that came out on, every PS5 had it, where you could play it. And I had a great time with it. Super fun. It was like, man, I haven't played a 3D platform I've enjoyed since Mario Odyssey. And I liked Mario Odyssey a lot. I'm not a big 3D platformer guy, but this one was just so charming and fun. And it had in that game little Easter eggs where if you paid enough attention, you could see oh wait, this is Horizon, because it just looked like it was a bot with a bow and arrow in it. And then they showed 2 bots, a big one and a small one, in a canoe, which you could tell, oh, that's Kratos and Atreus. In this one, they up it a little bit where they actually give the bots some defining features so you can really tell who they are. But that is the point of this game. You're not collecting stars, you're collecting bots. I'd say about half of them are just regular bots, like the ones that you can see he's holding. And then the other half of them are special bots, which are references to video games. And I thought that was so cool. There's so much stuff in this game that is just a celebration of PlayStation. I mean, the free game is kind of really like that, because what you're collecting that one is old PlayStation things. You're collecting the PlayStation 3 DualSense controller, and you're collecting the PlayStation Eye, all this cool stuff. And this one was more celebration of the games. And they even mention it in their acceptance speech, where they're thank you so much to a lot of you people who are in the audience that just allowed us to use your characters.
That's
and
cool.
I think it really works. And something I will say I didn't know about the game, but I think does really help sell it, is each major world, after you defeat the boss, you'll go to a special world that is centered around a specific video game.
Oh.
So the first one is Ape Escape, and it kind of changes the gameplay up where you're given a net and you catch monkey bots, like you're playing Ape Escape.
Oh, no way.
There's one where it's God of War, where you get an axe and you can actually throw it and have it returned to you, like in God of War, and you do stuff. So as somebody who had played God of War, there's these really cool things that I noticed and did because of that. And I won't spoil any of the other ones, but there's the third world was my favorite because it was like my core PlayStation memory growing up was with this game series.
Awesome.
And it's just so much fun. I was able to like 100% platinum this game in like 26, 28 hours. But, you know, for some people, it'd be like, oh, a $60 game that you beat 100% in, let's say, rounded up 30 hours. Oh, that's not worth it. For me, this game is super replayable. It's super fun. They have a speed like run type thing built into it. Plus, I think they had some free DLC they just handed out because I didn't pay for any DLC, but there's like this special world that was a separate trophy section, and then the speedrun section, which was a separate trophy section. But yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I can see why people would call it their game of the year. As you can see, not mine.
Stellar Blade in at number 2. So one started off with some controversy with the whole you can't make characters sexy or unrealistic, blah blah blah, whatever.
Nobody who actually cared.
No, but some people enjoyed the fact that she was a good looking character. Would this be a good game if she looked like the Horizon Zero Dawn girl? Yeah. So the combat is excellent. There's a lot. You need to get used to parrying to be top tier in this game. You have to parry more so than you would like to in like Dark Souls or anything like that. It is a Souls-esque game, but it's not
nowhere near as difficult.
No,
or nowhere near as punishing, I think, is the right way to say
there's some challenges, and there's a couple of the enemies that are quite difficult, but the game has a vast enemy variety. It has an open world that doesn't feel overwhelming. It's all contained in like planets.
It's like Final Fantasy 16's open, where it's technically open. It's a little bit more open than those ones, but it's like
it's contained.
Yeah.
They do a lot with the costumes. You can run around in a mini skirt if you want, which is very pleasing to the eye. The game itself
actually
is so unique in terms of the atmosphere. It's set on Earth, but it's like a disaster area with aliens, and there's this really cool section later in the game where you're ascending this tower into space.
Yeah.
And it's one of the coolest sections I can remember in video games.
It's so fun. I think is the big word, which it was so successful for the studio that they bought every single developer a PS5 Pro and gave them like a $1,250 bonus.
Awesome. It's a lot of fun. If I stepped back and looked at it as a whole, is it the most fun that I've had? No, but the game immerses you into this world, and then the combat is excellent as well. So it's so enjoyable. It's a big middle finger because I wasn't going to play this game. I had no interest until the controversy came out. I'm like, okay, middle finger to the you-know-whats that want to ruin everything for everyone. Who cares what this? We've lost this somewhere along the way. I don't want to rant because it's our top 5. If you don't like it, don't play it. And then the people who like it, play it. Why do we have to try and control what everyone else thinks? Exactly. So if I like it and Isaiah doesn't, well, guess what? Isaiah doesn't have to spend $70. Well, it's on sale for $49, but I do, and I'll play it. And he doesn't have to play it. He doesn't even have to hear about it. All right, number 1. There's only one option for number 1.
Yeah,
that's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
As much as I liked Astrobot, it's not even close.
I don't even know where to begin with this one because, to me, it's the best game that I've played since Dark Souls 3. It's one of the best games that I've ever played, and it's just 110 plus perfect scores. That's low for me.
Well, I think it's very interesting here you talk about it now, because remember when the game first came out, you were like, man, I really didn't like how the game really dragged on and all the side
You know
quest
why?
stuff.
Because I was trying to platinum it, and once I went back through and played it again, I played it from the start, and I said screw the side quests, because they started to get so repetitive and so boring. Then you're trying to go
skip them. That's the cool.
When you play the story, this game is absolutely incredible. The graphics are the best graphics in the world right now because it's one of the newest games. The story it takes the Final Fantasy VII story that everyone knows and loves, and it gives you a little bit of a twist to it.
The ending to this game, I had to sit on it and think about. Like, I've been thinking about the end of this game since the game came out, and it's become one of my favorite endings because it is doing, without spoiling, it is doing something that is enhancing. And this is what I like to say: Final Fantasy VII is considered one of the best games ever made, and what this trilogy is doing is enhancing that experience. Because I know when the game first came out, I mean, very slight spoilers, but it feels like they took away a moment from you at the end of the game. And it's like, man, this sucks. Then you start to think about, why did they do that? Oh, because they're going to make it hurt even more in the next game.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, it's all going to pay off. And it also, it works towards the expectations that people have with this game. And I'll just say this, if you know, you know, it puts you in it puts the player in the shoes of Cloud because you're coping. When
you're on the cruise ship in the original Final Fantasy VII, it's a MacGuffin to get from one thing to the next and throw a boss in the middle. And this gives you, it expands on everything. When you get to Costa del Sol, you could be in Costa del Sol for 15 hours and not see everything. It's so fun.
It's like the cruise ship is one of my favorite parts of it, because not only is it like they kind of revolve it around like one of the best mini games that Final Fantasy has ever made, Queen's Blood, but they take, let's just, once again, slight spoilers, they take that Red 13 moment and they expand upon it. You know, like I said, this entire trilogy, what it's doing is it enhances that moment, makes it even more enjoyable.
Now, the downfall for me was trying to platinum it, trying so hard between like two important story beats. Because I looked up, what's the last point before you can, before you're locked out of these things? And I was doing it for 30, 40 hours. I'm like, I've lost the reason that I like this game in the first place. But I think in the side of my mind, I was so anxious to see where they went that it was like I couldn't sit and enjoy these little things because my mind was elsewhere. And that Sephiroth fight, a lot of fun. I liked it better than the Sephiroth fight in Remake. Spoilers, Sephiroth is the villain in this game.
I think it went on a little too long for me. They do stuff that I was like, I thought this was going to happen in the third game, and they're doing it now, which means what are they going to do in the third game? The game, like the narrative, the voice acting, fantastic. Both Cody Christensen, who plays Cloud, and Brianna White, who plays Aerith, won awards for their voice acting at the Golden Joystick Awards. It 100% earned.
Sid, fantastic.
Oh yeah,
the Red 13, fantastic across the board. Really,
all the voice acting is perfect. The combat in this game, it's like the ETB thing or the ATB thing they do with the the real time combat as well is so perfect. And it's like, why can't more games do this? It's
this is and
the materia system. So good.
No disrespect to the previous games on this list or any other game we hadn't played this year. I can't wait for the next one, to be honest.
I mean, hey, look, they knocked the next one out of the park. It is a perfect trilogy.
Let us know what you think of our top 5. Let us know what your favorite games were.
What one should we check out?
Even if your top 5 matched ours, let us know what your 6th favorite game. And we will catch you guys later. Peace.